Well, this is one of those videos I hate to make, but I was that guy. I really was that guy. For probably the past 35 years, yeah, as far as being a mechanic on the side here and there, and being an ASE certified mechanic and a master mechanic, I've always yelled at people for going metal to metal on their pads. Every single time I was like, how did you not know that? How did you not know that? Well, it happened to me. My rear pads on my truck, I just put new tires on it, and I looked at the pads, and there's half pad life on there on both sides. I looked at them, I was like, bitchin', okay, we're good to go. I couldn't remember the last time I did brakes on the rear or anything. I mean, I have a book, but I couldn't seem to find it at the time. So I was just like, whatever. And then I'm driving it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, man, what is that noise? So then I kept hearing it. I had to roll down the windows, and I kept hearing this like grinding noise. And then the realization that I just became that guy that went metal to metal on the rear brakes. So I decided, you know what? I'm just going to do all the brakes. I've had this truck since new, and I don't think I've ever put rotors on the rear at all. Since then, I've put pads on the rear once. It's only got 160,000 miles on it, diesel truck, so it's got plenty of life left on it. So I figured, you know what, I'm just going to do it all up. So it's exactly what it was. It just ran it right to the edge, and there too. But it wasn't that the pad came off. What it was is that something I've never had to deal with here before is something called rust. The hell's rust? Where does that come from? Who knows anything about rust? Never heard of it before in my life. But what I guess what happened is that because it rains out here quite a bit, it got up inside there onto the caliper and onto the pad, and the pad froze itself to, the brake, the brake pad holder, that holds onto the caliper, and it just froze that sucker into place. So yeah. And these things were frozen on there. I had to hammer the crap out of them, almost break that one to get it off. Same with this thing. Those are not little marks. Those are snap-on air hammer. And yeah, that was a fun one. So I'm going to do the fronts tomorrow. I just don't feel like doing it today. I'm already sweating, and it's barely 10 o'clock, and I'm over it. Started getting water in here, and the bulb starts showing like ding, 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 ding. I got new one of these. That thing always constantly falls out. And I did want to, put new brakes on it. You don't need to see me put new brakes on the front and rear. So I put new brakes front and rear on this thing. The fronts didn't really need it, but I did it anyways. I didn't want to mess with it. So there it is. That's that. Maintenance this weekend. See, there's all the stuff. Still can't believe I did that. But yeah, this stuff looks good. But you know what? Whatever. These are the original rotors, and I had them turned. They still had plenty of material. I could have turned them, but I don't know. After my experiences with some of the southern ways of how they do things out here, as far as the stuff I've seen done on my house and the stuff that I've seen done on my, well, let's just put it this way. I'd rather just replace them. That's a simple way to say it. It's cheaper, easier to replace them than to have someone here turn them. If I could mail them back to my friends out in San Diego, no problem. Or if I could actually use the machine myself, totally bitching. Here, I'd rather just do it myself. So, there we go. I'm moving on. Here's a convenient trick for if you have, like, say, an 03 to 07, I think is what this one is, maybe 06. These right here are part of this cover plate. You don't get it with this switch. So when these things break off, which happens all the time in the front because there's only one, if you take screws, drill a hole through that, right there, all the way through to that, you can put screws there and one up here, because this is the one you're always messing with, and this thing breaks constantly. So this way you can screw that through, and you got a screw on the bottom, screw on top, and that way it works. And it stays. It's got a little screw on top, screw on bottom, big deal. Like I said, I was going to trade this truck in, but it's barely got any miles on it. 163,525. So, and it's coming up on 20 years old, so I'm just going to keep it. I'm going to rhino line it. I was going to put a paint job on it, but I'm just going to rhino line the sucker. Gray, and call it good. It runs beautifully, so why buy a new truck for it? And I went and looked at them. They're ridiculous. $100,000 for what I have here. And this thing does just fine. There's no mountains out here where I live, and there's barely any hills. So a diesel with 4-speed is all I need. All I'm towing is that trailer right there. So is what it is. Right now I'm putting new plugs in here for this and drying out the light right now. So yeah, then I'm done for the day. I ain't gonna do any more.